recording. And I guess before we start, there were a few cases where you know where people hadn't shared the document. So I'm just going to show you on one of my documents. I'm going to share the screen. And it almost doesn't matter what this document is, but it just happens to be notes that I take from a
This
particular
morning, while
meeting.
speaking about the investigation,
Ah,
Dave Marcucci and
Okay, good. So they're quiet. Here's a document, and if you look up on the top right-hand side of the screen, there's this share button. If you click on the share button, then you see it says General Access Restricted. For your lesson plans, because we want to make the lesson plans available to everybody, um, you want to click down on this, and you want to click where it says Anyone with the link. And I would leave it as viewer. I mean, you could give people editing rights or commenting rights if you want to, but I would just, by default, it changes to viewer. And then if you've already linked it, you don't have to copy the link. But pretty much everybody knows, you can copy the link and then you can put it into the spreadsheet. But basically, that's what you do to open up a document so that everybody else can see it. Is you go to the share button, you click on right under general access. It's a drop down. There's two options here. It's everyone with a link, and then you click done. So I'll check again, after class today. But there were a bunch of people who where I couldn't access the lessons, and which means that nobody else can either. Um, so. Uh, welcome to session six, the showcase lesson. And I know a bunch of you were here at other classes, and so you've been through this process before. It's really cool because you're gonna be amazed because the lessons that you all create and your explanations are taking this information, which obviously is not written in a way that kids can understand, and you distill it in ways that you can teach the kids or you can teach other adults and or showcase. And uh, so it's both for both Tammy and me, it's really our favorite session. Um, so with that said, uh, I guess we can start the showcase, right, Tammy?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So, who would like to get it out of the way?
Now, Mitch, that is not a positive way to put it.
Oh, I thought that was a positive way.
No, who wants to
Okay,
get it out of the way? Getting something out of the way is not a positive way to say that. You need a mind shift.
I do need a
Here's the
mind shift then.
thing.
Yeah.
Which of you has the best lesson here and cannot wait to share it with us?
Okay, let me try that. Which
Okay.
of you has the best lesson here and would like to share it with us? See, so people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, I just learned a new trick.
I didn't realize you were a dog. God, you make me laugh. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now, and whoever's sharing, let's do it.
Okay,
Go.
so I see Nicole. Nicole volunteered to go first. And theoretically, I've made it so that everybody can share their screen. So, Nicole, you should be able to share your lesson plan. If you can't, for people who can't, if as long as I have access, I can share on my screen. But Nicole, can you share? Or do you want me to share?
Um, I will try because to tell you the truth, I have to find. All right, all right. I got it. Maybe. All right. So, I did a little bit different. I asked Mitch if I could do it like this. So I made a PowerPoint up and I recorded myself speaking over it. But just so you guys know, I made worksheets and everything I do, I fine tune after I use them, and I haven't used these yet. So um, if you guys find them useful and want to manipulate them, have at it. So let's get into it. So So I made Cynefin strategies worksheets, and I did this because I used to work in a boys detention center, and a lot of these uh, students, boys, had difficulty understanding why they acted out, and that's what made me think of doing something like this. So I made this based on like education, but you can change it to anything. I made two different versions. This version is for adults. I said educators. And the reason why I have it set up this way is because adults usually are a lot easier at reading the directions and then finding where to put information. So I have the simple, the complicated, and the
Okay, I
complex.
have to ask. What adults are you working with?
Yeah, well, I said that's why I said usually.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Oh my God.
um, so I put the simple, the complicated, and the complex in the beginning. I gave very basic information of what each one of these strategies would entail. I gave very simple explanations or examples of what each one of them would entail. And of course, these are my interpretation of simple. Um, it depends on the situation. They can be in any of the other categories depending on, your situation. And then at the bottom, I put chaotic because to me, chaotic needs to be totally separated out. Since a lot of things that happen in my school a lot lately, I will say, it seems to always begin with a chaotic situation. So I have that set out alone. Um, and I have it as identifying the problem, what had to be handled immediately. For example, did you have to separate the kid? Did they have to be taken out of class? What happened immediately? And then how was it handled? Did you have to call security? Did the teacher have to leave the room? Did so on and so forth. Number three, what is the follow-up problem? So as we learned that there's usually a problem behind the chaotic problem. So that way it helps us to identify what that problem or situation scenario actually is. And then it leads to the other side of the worksheet. I will break that down. Sorry, I'm a little ahead of myself. So then I break it down to simple. As we know, simple is usually a cause and effect type of situation. Complicated can be a little bit more complicated where you look for your alternative solutions, name as many as you can find, and then say what solution you chose and why you chose it, because sometimes we choose solutions and we don't know why we chose it. And this also leaves a paper trail. I apologize. My husband's in the background here. It leaves a paper trail of why that solution was chosen.
Which,
Maybe,
by the way, is where husbands should be, right?
well, he just got home. So, of course, he's got a lot to say to everybody here. Um, So that's the reason why I have it stated like that. Then we go to our complex, um, identifying your problem. What probes did you use? What evidence did you gather? And obviously, I only put 2 lines for everything. But if we were really to use this, obviously, it's could be a lot longer than this. It's just for space safe or space saving techniques at this point. That's why I only put 2 lines. What's the solution that was implemented, and then explain the result of your solution and explain whether or not you need to revisit it. To me, when I look at complex, I think more of like an OODA loop where you have to constantly go back and look at things again. I don't believe that complex ever is an end unless you can't go any further with it. So then we go to the student version. And if you remember the adult version or the educator version, this one is laid out very differently. I did it more like a chunking thing, and those in education know that chunking seems to help students focus a little bit more. So if we look at this one, this is the chaotic. If it's not chaotic, I purposely did this on a separate sheet so they could bypass this if it didn't start with chaotic. But if a chaotic situation is the one that they're dealing with first, I put this one so whoever's dealing with the student at the moment can help them to focus themselves, and hopefully as they de-escalate, they could put their thoughts and feelings and everything down on paper. At the top, I have a link to feeling words. What I notice also is so many students have these big feelings and don't know what they are feeling. So it allows them to, read some words and maybe be able to identify those feelings of why they acted the way they did. So during or throughout all the student version, I have how do you feel? Why do you feel this way? So on and so forth. So in this one, as you can see, it has similar questions as the educator version, but this one says, how did you feel before the situation and why? And then how did you feel during the situation and why? And then how do you feel now? So kind of like that bell curve, what started you to feel this way? How did you feel in the moment? And now that it is over, tell me how you're feeling now that you're de-escalating, and then helping them to identify the situation that led to this. Then, of course, we then go back to the simple and the complicated. So again, this depends on what situation they're going to be dealing with, and more feeling questions, simple questions. Even kids who have simple questions have big feelings sometimes. Sometimes they feel like it's a lot more complicated than it really is. So it allows them to get those feelings out. Then we have the complicated version down further. I gave a little bit more information. Students a lot of times need a little more prompting than the educators do. Again, more feeling words, the same type of questions as the educator version. And then if we move in even further, then there's the complex. A little bit more information again at the top to define what a complex situation might be, and a lot of the same types of questions as the educator, again, adding in feeling words to this. So that was my idea of how I would use this worksheets. And to tell you the truth, I think this is not just an educator thing. I could use this even with my own kids. So that was my, that was my idea for coming up with this, is to actually get them thinking. All right, that's all I got.
Wow. Yeah, just so I'm looking at that, and I'm, like I'm thinking so many things. It's first of all allowing people to be self-directed, which gives them ownership of their actions and their future actions, which is what we really want for everybody, right?
Right.
Kids and adults. And an alternative use of this is one could prompt people through them instead of having them do it completely alone. Um, you could you could ask, I'm looking at the question here, so what was the problem or situation that occurred, and how do you feel right now? And sometimes, using this could give you as the adult or another adult the ability to co-regulate with the child and patterns so that they could use this on their own afterwards. And these questions are ingenious. They really represent something that we teach in the conflict course, which is motivational interviewing. Um, and motivational interviewing is a way of asking people questions so that they themselves decide to change, and that's basically what you've done here. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Um, yeah, and I should say, everybody knows, we're recording this. What I'm going to be doing is I'm breaking up you saw on the previous class, I'll break up the recordings, you know, into different sections, put them next to your name, and you can use these recordings then to teach other people. But all of you in the class could use these recordings also, as kind of a PD for your own schools, and say, here's a great, here's a great lesson that you can use, and here's how to use it. Uh, so fantastic explanation. Really, really interesting work. I don't know, Tammy, did you like it at all?
You know what I loved about it was the clarity with which it can be, like, I could have picked this up, and thank you for going over it, Nicole. And I could have thought, and I could have gathered my own thoughts, and I just thought it was amazing. And what I love too is that you had the two versions, right? Adults and students. And I think that is really extremely helpful. So excellent job, Nicole. Excellent.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so Michelle, this is great because we've got five people, the first five people lined up already. So Michelle,
I know, because you invited the people that made the most brilliant ones
that's
to share, like,
if we
right?
had just left it with what I said, nobody would have volunteered. So yeah,
I'm not saying that. Oh, we've got somebody saying they'll go six. Okay, I'm just saying, Mitch.
I think you were 100% right.
Do you mean Michelle Procius or do you mean someone other than
Oh,
Michelle?
Michelle Anderson volunteered to
Anderson.
go second.
All
Sorry,
right.
Michelle.
Sorry, Michelle.
No problem.
Michelle, we're up to eighth. If you, Michelle Process, if you wanted to just put it into the chat, if you want to, because I think
Okay.
we have two sixes. So I'm going to do them in order. So Roxanne Smith will be six, and then Karen Gallagher will be seventh. So Michelle Anderson.
Okay. So mine is quite different. I'll go ahead and share screen if I have the rights to do that.
Hopefully everybody does.
Oh, it's not liking that. It's not happy with me
Okay.
doing that.
So now I've just made you co-host. You should have been able, I thought I gave you rights before, but
Oddly enough, it is not allowing me to do that. I am not sure. Oh, I'll try it again. Nope.
okay. So I can pull
I
it up.
apologize. I'm
Yeah, we can.
not
That's
able
okay,
to do
Michelle.
it.
Yeah, we can have Mitch do it for you.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I
Don't
won't be
be.
the only one in that case. So mine
be
is very
fabulous.
different than anyone else's. I guarantee that.
Good.
Just a little disclaimer before my other disclaimer. I'm not in the K-12 classroom any longer. I've separated from service early, and I'm working at a college setting. I'm still in an educational environment,
That's why
working
you
with
have the big
college
money here,
students.
right?
Well, I had the big money. I'm no longer making the big money. This is a whole different stress-free job that I really enjoy. But so I wanted to try to process what OODA loops are and make it applicable to myself, but also for other people. If you can go to the next slide, please. For example, why am I doing this? I wanted to do this not only to help myself in understanding OODA loops, but also what I discovered in my 31 years in education is a lot of educators don't know how to help themselves with their retirement planning and don't even know where to start. And so I've taught myself a lot, and I do a lot to educate other people on things that can help them with their financial choices. So that's why I'm doing this. So slide 3. Couple disclaimers, and this is what everybody says on YouTube. I'm not a financial planner, but you can use this for any educational purposes. So for those of us from Washington State, where I came from, I'm in Texas now, you have a pension available to you. The other piece of this is if for just my short slideshow, it makes the assumption that a person has zero debt. That means nothing and no dependents. It means that you have examined your budget for over 2 years and you know your expenses. And it means that you've saved using a variety of resources and that you plan to retire before 65 and you have to think about healthcare options. So then I go into kind of what the OODA loops look like in observation. This took me a while to figure out the difference still between observation and orient. So I might still be wrong on these slides, but I gave it my best shot. So we'll go to observations. Next slide, please. So some of my observations were thinking about what our health is like for both of us and the longevity of our families and our genetic history of our families, thinking of our account balances and expenses, thinking of historical returns of the funds that we do have invested, thinking about the current state of the United States and international financial markets, thinking about the real estate where I currently live, about what others are experiencing in retirement and inflation. Those were just a few of the observations. I'm sure there are many, many, many more available. So my next slide is the orientation phase. So just kind of looking at all of those impacts of orientation. And so my next slide is the things that I thought of for orientation. So this was not an exhaustive list, but just a start. So apologize, I'm reading off the screen here, but I'll go fairly quickly. What do I need for a financial plan to be successful? How would I define that success? What factors should I consider when creating the plan? What software should I use to help guide it? What articles or books should I read? What YouTube videos should I watch? What is the current state of our financial markets? What does history tell me about these markets? What should I consider, or should I consider the international situations? What interest rates do I need to ensure my resources will last as long as I hope to live? How long do I need these resources to go? What are some tax implications I should consider? What is our health? Genetic history? Should I consider Roth conversions and more tax implications? So this again is pertains to me, but it can pertain to anyone, is what I would hope to be. And then the next slide is simply some decisions. What are the decisions that would need to be made? In my case, I decided to purchase financial software, or should I decide to purchase financial software? I'm going to decide to review my allocations. I'm going to decide to review Roth conversion tax implications. I'm going to decide to also look into a fee-only financial advisor to review the plan that I've come up with. I'm also going to look at tax implication of RMDs, and I have decided to retire pre-65 and look at some healthcare options for pre-65 retirees. So those are all the decisions that I think are important in my case, or in anyone's case if they're looking at pre-65 retirement. And my last slide is actions. What actions have I taken? I have decided to purchase a software after careful research and looking at all the options. And I've also began to study tax implications of Roth conversions. I've looked at several healthcare options for pre-65. There are a few available other than ACA, by the way. I'm looking at my allocations and rebalancing our portfolios, and I'm looking at several fee-only financial advisors to find out my best fit. And I'm looking for holes and mistakes and other options and making some lists for next steps. So this is very quick. I've been working at a private university. TIA-CREF is a organization that somebody put in the title in the chat feature there. It's a fairly expensive organization, so I choose not to use it. If I can, I choose to use other less expensive organizations, but working at Baylor Christian University right now, we're required to use it. But anyway, that is my short version. I apologize. I went quick because I know you have a lot of other folks that want to share their lessons that pertain to a classroom, and mine definitely does not in the direct classroom setting.
But I can see, for example, I could very easily go through this with my wife. And the
That
two
was
of
my hope.
us, yeah, the two of us could consider these questions. And it's not like any answer is going to be the right or the wrong answer, but just talking about these gives us an idea. And we won't have the answer to all of them, but as you point out, you can look at some YouTube videos. Um, you can do some research, you can talk to other people, but just going through these questions would give us an idea of what we needed to do to get
Mhm.
our finances ready, or to understand how much more we're gonna have to work, or whatever the questions are that come up. And so maybe just one of the things is you mentioned a fee only financial advisor. What was your um can you just explain to people why you would choose a fee only financial advisor?
You want your financial advisor to work for you, not the company that gives them a paycheck. So that's probably the quickest and dirtiest and easiest answer to that. A lot of financial advisors want to sell you products because they're paid commissions on those products, and they're not going to tell you that. So there are people who will help you and guide you with a financial plan for a flat fee. That means they're working for you and only you and no one else. And that's what you always want to look for if you can. That's my
Okay.
opinion, at
All
least.
right. Yeah. No, I thought that was important. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing all these. I'll go seventh, eighth, ninth, etc. This is great.
Good.
Um, so yeah. I'd that's
That was bloody brilliant.
yeah, it really was. It
And
really
you're
was.
right, Michelle. I don't know in any session have we ever seen anything like that.
And that was my
It was
hope because there's a lot of questions, but people don't even sometimes know what the questions are. So
exactly.
anytime I could help, I'm happy to help. And I apologize that I have to exit stage right, but I have to tell you why I have to exit because it's way too cool and you're gonna love it.
Oh,
Maybe if you like jazz. I'm a big jazz
yeah.
fan. And Wynton Marsalis, who is a very famous jazz musician, he actually is in New York now, is performing tonight at Baylor University, and I was able to obtain 2 free tickets to his
Oh
Wow.
concert.
my gosh. How did you get 2 tickets?
He is performing for free at our college tonight, and these
Are
are some
you
of the
do you work
perks
with
I get.
Baylor?
I'm an employee at Baylor, yes.
Okay, a good friend of mine, John Eckert, works at Baylor.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
don't I mean there would be no reason for you to know him, but when I hear Baylor, I always smile because I love him dearly and they only hire the best of the best.
Hmm.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited to be able to enjoy this concert tonight, and I apologize for exiting stage right.
No,
So here's something
enjoy.
that's weird is that I am seeing Brandon Marsalis tomorrow night.
Oh, excellent.
So and
Really?
he's playing at I live in Westchester County outside of New York, and so he's
Mhm.
playing at SUNY Purchase. So
Very
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Well, good. You have a
enjoy
Wow.
it.
great concert, and I'm looking
You
forward to
too.
mine. And thank you very much, Mitch and Tammy, for another wonderful course.
Well, Michelle,
Yeah,
thank you.
Michelle, so fun. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, Anita. So yeah, can you unmute and are
Yeah,
you able to share?
I'm going to try that now.
Okay.
I think so.
Yes,
Is
looks
it
like it's
visible?
working.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. So the idea for this was um, a growth mindset journal I used a few years back. I couldn't find the journal, but I remember how it looked like. So I thought of creating something like that. I thought of doing both
Hmm.
um, Kinevan and UDA, but I ended up just doing the Kinevan framework. So it just says blanks, flexible mindset journal. I started thinking of the elementary kids, but when I finished, it looked like it could be used for both upper elementary, junior high, middle school, maybe senior high, depending on how you frame it. So that's the cover page, and the person writes their name. I did a little blurb about what a flexible mindset is. And I use mainly I statements where I could so that the person reading it or the user can personalize this. Um, so I'll just slowly scroll through so we can read it. But the main point is when things are hard or don't go my way, I don't get stuck. I bend and adjust so I can find a solution. And then I gave a brief look of what that could look like. So it's like, try it again, kid. I can't do it yet, but I can try a different way. I like this one, wiggle and wobble, because it gave an example on when a game changes or when you have to switch partners. And then the power of plan B. If plan A fails, my flexible brain helps me quickly think of plan B. And then I put the check mark on what I highlighted, which was Kinevan's framework to be a flexible thinker. And then I gave a breakdown of the framework. So it's a way you can look at problems to figure out what the best way is to solve it. This image was courtesy of Google's AI. I forget what's called
Hmm.
Uh, uh,
Wonderful.
I'll find
Gemini,
the name.
Gemini, right?
Yes. Not
Or
ChatGPT, it's
right,
Google.
Google
It's
Gemini, I think, or they have
Gemini.
Gemini,
Thank
right?
you. It
It's
is
Gemini.
Gemini. Yes. So and Gemini helped me phrase child-friendly languages for most of it. And then but I wanted an image that could just capture it all in a go. And then so it helps you decide if a problem is super simple, a bit tricky, or a total mystery. And then I created 3 pages to help the user go through a problem. So it was originally just 1 page, but I thought by the third time you use the framework, then you have a good idea. So it's just the next 6 pages are a repeat of the main 3 pages. So here's problem one. Describe the issue. I just use this to kind of offload what you have now before we go into actually problem solving. Who's involved or who's having the problem? What do I want to happen or what's my goal? And then now my problem on Canavan's framework. So I put it simple, what your problems feels like, it's clear, obvious, and then how you can solve it, and then broke down those 3 steps. So explain it the same way so that by the time you're done with here, you can say, oh, from what it looks like, this problem is complex. Then the user can circle this and then know what to do in a complex situation. So these broke down the 4 kinds of problems, gave a brief description, and then what the response is recommended for according to the framework. And then now my solution pathway. So taking what was recommended here, the 3 steps, I broke that down so that in simple, your step 1, 2, and 3 look like this, so that it's like a planning sheet, stroke record sheet for the user. So since we're using like complex, then we come to complex. Okay, probe. Probe means I've got to try something. What did I try? What happened? What will I do more of that worked? And then it's like a quick note, but taking you through the step. So that's all for the 4. And then I put a reflection piece. So my 3 takeaways from this experience, one thing that was challenging for me, one thing that surprised me. Then if you did a complicated question and in the analyze ask someone, I wanted you to remember who was that resource. So one person or expert I consulted, and then you can write that. And then one thing you accomplished using this framework. So these these 4 steps I repeated. So there's a problem 2, you go through the same thing. And then there's a third problem page, you go through the same thing. And the hope is that if you analyze 3 different problems, hopefully one of them fits in one of the categories. And so for the user, you can duplicate this as many times as you want. It's a PDF, but if you're tech savvy, you can convert it into a Google Doc. I originally made it on Canva, so maybe I'll actually share that Canva link for those who'd like to edit so that you can just add and then make multiple
Wow.
pages, change the colors if you like, or the visuals. So same thing for third problem, a reflection. And then I meant this to be a coloring sheet. It didn't come out great, but it's still okay. So using Canavan helps my brain be a flexible thinker. And then on the background, it still shows what the things the problems are and highlights that. And most of the pictures if you're gender like aware, then that also changes. But this was just a draft. If it was for a girl, I'll do that. If there's a gender neutral one that you can do different colors with, but I needed a draft to start with. And then I blew up that image so that it's clearer. That can be a poster to just show what the problem solver window looks like using this framework. And then I just wanted a coloring page to kind of keep you zoned in. So depending on how the or which age level this is, you can blow this up so that it just keeps them going. So that's what I was thinking of. A quick journal that would help bring it all together for the user. Mhm.
Wow.
Okay, Anita, I just have my favorite comment you made. For those of you that are tech savvy, and I'm like, you have to be tech savvy if this is what you're putting together, sister. I mean, not seriously. Holy moly. Excellent job.
Well, and brain savvy because you put it together in a way that really goes along with how somebody would ideally work through a problem And by doing it 3 times, you're getting them to practice, which then builds the skills and put them into their, kind of their muscle memory. And then the coloring, just, it's just kind of the icing on the cake because it
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 is. It's
it gets
brilliant.
them to use other senses and other modes of doing things to further lock it in. So,
And I
yeah.
do love how you said, well, and I was going to do it more general. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And notice Mitch down here at the bottom where, he looks like, and it could be a she, but he looks like, he's got superpowers and he's an Avenger. I'm just saying.
Mm.
Right.
Fabulous. Anita, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so I think Kate McCallum.
Actually, it's Kara. I'm not
Oh,
able to share.
did I see that wrong? I'm so sorry. Kara McCallum. Sorry. I
No
wrote down
worries.
Kate.
I'm not able to share. Are you able to?
Let me just make sure. Um, I believe, let's see. It's on Canva
Yes, and I
and
did
yes,
the. Okay.
there we go. Um, and I'm going to blow it up so people can see it better, even though that'll mean I have to scroll, but wow.
Okay, so mine is super simple, but I teach elementary PE, and so visuals, and I wanted to create a resource that I could put in my own teaching space because my students actually do, and it's very cool, read the stuff that I have on the walls, and I love it, and it's the coolest thing. And so for me, it's simple. I utilized the content from one of your guys' slides in regards to teaching a student, OODA, loop. So the phrases all come from the slide that you had in the slides, but I incorporated it into the poster and made the poster through Canva. And I really liked the phrases, and so I used them because that is sentence stems for the students to be able to pull from. I have it in the front of my gym. I was so excited. I was like, made it, print it,
Hmm.
laminate, put it right up. I was like, done. And I have it in the front of my teaching space where I do everything up there. So that one, it's a reference that I can use when I'm teaching it to them, but also so that they can reference it because with elementary PE and just everyone anywhere, but what I experience a lot is that trying to help them work through like not giving up and how to work through the problems. And so I liked the phrases. I liked how it was worded, and that's why I just wanted to create it for students as a reference because they do use them, and I find it helpful. So I don't know if you want me to read it or not.
No, I think, well, the wording is here for people to read. I'm thinking like, first of all, this is a good reference as you're teaching it. Second of all, I could see a kid where you're teaching a new technique or something, and you bring the class, or you bring a bunch of kids, say, okay, so what are we observing now? And ask questions. What are we, what are we orienting? What are we deciding we're going to try? How are we going to act? And then what might we observe again? And then after you've done this a few times with them, and a kid comes to you and says, "I can't do this," you could just say, "Wait a minute, just go to the poster and walk through them because they've been through it 2 or 3 times." And so you're
Exactly.
building self-sufficiency in the kids. This is great.
That's the goal. So
Well, yeah, thank you. And so, yeah, so let's Elizabeth Neely.
Okay, let's see if I can share. I think that worked.
Yep.
I'm gonna turn the slideshow on. Okay. So I'm a special ed teacher, taught elementary special ed for 10 years. And before I even started teaching, I started learning about neuroplasticity, first to help myself, And then I very quickly saw that this would really help my students. And so over my 10 years of teaching in the classroom, I developed this process. And now I quit teaching 5 years ago, and I have a business that I put on Substack, and I teach this course, and I realized I teach it using OODA loops, and I didn't even know that. And so I thought, but if I could make a really quick presentation for people to just get the highlights, that you could learn a lot about it, about how to do this. So first, I just review what OODA loops are and the steps. And for this, the first is to observe your students. And we do this all the time as teachers. But for neurodivergent students, what you're looking for is just their everyday behavior, because everything kids do all day, every day tells you about how their brain is doing and what they need. So here's an example. We've got Sonia. She's a second grader. She doesn't say hello or goodbye. She doesn't respond to her name. She's a year behind in reading, and she won't eat in the cafeteria, but she will eat in the classroom. So those are our observations of Sonia. Next, we're going to interpret our observations. And neurodivergence often involves inaccurate sensory perceptions. So what does that mean? So I gave you two photographs of a classroom. The photograph on the right is how it would look to someone with typical vision. But the photograph on the left could be how it might look to someone with a neurological visual impairment. And it looks normal, but it looks sort of like there's a Rubik's Cube effect going on the walls. And if you look closely, everyone's faces is fuzzed out, and you can't see what's underneath the desks. And this is very much what it can be like for a lot of different people with a neurodivergence. Their senses just aren't coming to them in a way that makes sense. So the world looks pretty normal, but there are big gaps of missing information. And that's often a big part of what holds neurodivergent students behind. So what do you do about that? Well, here's another example first. Hearing. Inaccurate sensory perception means that this sentence, put your coats away and sit at your desk, might sound like utter goats way and pit at your desk. And so what would you do if that's what you heard? You'd probably be like that guy and be like, I don't know. So then also in the orient step is you have to understand what are those things telling you. And my interpretation of Sonia is that speech is unintelligible to her at times. And she won't eat in the cafeteria. And because I know the cafeteria is noisy, that's probably because it's just overwhelming. She can't process that much sensory information in the cafeteria, but in the classroom, it's quieter. So she knows, so I know it's probably easier for her to function in calm, quiet settings. So 3, decide, put forth a hypothesis of what might help Sonia. So I would provide Sonia with accommodations that make it easier for her brain to interpret what she's hearing, such as noise canceling and headphones, especially at lunch. I might take her to the hallway to talk with her, and I would agree on a signal to let her know when I'm going to talk with her. A lot of neurodivergent kids, if you just talk to them randomly, they won't hear you because their brain just isn't ready to listen. So if you agree on that signal, like a tap on the shoulder or a wave, then they'll know to listen and they're much more likely to hear you. And then act by testing out your hypothesis. Try them out in the real world. And they may or may not work. But the worst thing that's going to happen is that they'll probably be no worse off than they are now. And the best case scenario is it could make a tremendous difference and dramatically improve the quality of their educational experience. And then go back to observe. See if they're working. And you want to keep what's working and discard what not. And then that'll give you a good array of things that really work. And you know it's working if they start making more progress, if the kids are happier, if their attention improves. They might be more themselves or have other behaviors unique to them that tell you that they're doing better. And following this process can help make school and home more enjoyable and feel safe. And if you would like to learn more about how to do this in your classroom and get really into the nitty-gritty, then I have my course, Understanding Neurodivergence, on my Substack, Practical Neuroplasticity.
And I'm wondering if you could just put the link to that in the chat
I will do
because
that.
on the screen it's not linkable. And this is so you went through this really rapidly with us, but I can see that, taking time that this is really very powerful
Yeah.
professional development because you would generally have discussions with people around
Mhm.
each of them, and the educators in there in the group would bring up their own personal examples, and by having
Mhm.
them discussing among themselves and with a mentor or
Mhm.
leader leading the discussion, um, you're exposing many different types of behaviors and many different ways of trying to
Mhm.
um, reach people. And then it's like just for me personally, when you said, when you talk to somebody who's neurodivergent, giving them some signal that you're going to talk to them so that they can get their brain ready to listen, it's like, my gosh, that's what happens to me all the time because I'm concentrating on something and I'm not listening. And somebody will come in here and they'll say something to me and then they'll get upset because I didn't really hear them or, but my brain just, like I was in the middle of doing something. I wasn't ready. And so it's like, that would make such a difference.
Exactly. And some of it is just changing your mindset like that. Like
Hmm.
it's not really, you're not doing extra work as a teacher to do this approach.
Hmm.
You're just changing your mindset about what you expect of the kids and putting different systems in place in your classroom so that they can be more independent, get more out of school, and it can be pretty self-sustaining once you get it going. And I have 4 modules, all the materials online, and I can through monthly meetings take people through it.
Wow.
So, yep, that's that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. And I'll
That's
put the link in
wonderful.
the
And
chat.
and again, put the link into the chat. I think that if people look at, they put the link in the lesson plan spreadsheet and go to that link, they probably can access it through the link that you have on the
Yeah,
slide, but having it in the chat would be helpful as well.
I'll do that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Roxanne.
All right, let me see if I can share this. It is not allowing me to share it.
Okay. So I have to find, you're unmuted, right? Okay, yes. So let me, if I, ma- if I make you a co-host, does that help?
No,
Okay. So let me try to find it on the spreadsheet then.
it's like in the top
Ah,
4.
okay. Got it. And then I will share. Okay.
All right.
And I'm
So,
gonna I'm gonna make it a little bit larger. Maybe that might help, right?
okay, thank you. All right, so the first slide or page is just a attention getter, and you can add this to the middle of this lesson. So if you could scroll down a little bit, please. I made a lesson plan based on thinking and acting like the interrupting chicken. This is a book that I added the read aloud to um, because it was happening in my classroom at the time. So I thought that this would be good for anywhere from kindergarten through second grade. You could play the read aloud to the class, and using the steps of the OODA loop. So you're having the kids observe, think, decide, and act. And then also looking at the situations that he is in the book. Is it easy, tricky, or confusing? At the end of the lesson, I'm hoping that students will recognize the value of slowing down and thinking before acting. And so I feel like this lesson plan, there are some things that you could take out to make it quicker, because I would probably use it more for like a cell or a 20-minute meeting discussion, or after, right after the reading of the book. And then we would talk about, because my class is a second grade, connecting to the story. So did the chicken stop to observe or think before interrupting? And then I would get some of the kids to raise their hand and discuss. And then we're really looking at using the OODA loop. So what are we observing? So we would go back to the read aloud, and you can like do like a pause on a part. That way you have that picture and ask the students, okay, what's happening? What do you think he's going to do? What would you do? And so the more like connection that you have with those kids, showing what he has done or what would you do or what should he do, I'm hoping that after this story that they're making better decisions and not interrupting so much. So it's just kind of a quick lesson plan.
And I'm just scrolling through the other parts so that people can see the other parts.
It could be more in depth, and you could use
Mhm.
that if you have more time. It's hard sometimes with our curriculum to add more time, but if someone would like to use that, they can too, if they had more of a block of time.
Well, and if you were teaching a book with, a character who's constantly making decisions that or taking actions that we normally wouldn't want them to, um, you can really use this framework for any of those books, right?
Right.
Which is very powerful. Um, and it's allowing the kids to look at this other character and think about that other character's behavior so that they don't have to say that they do this also. So it allows them to project onto another character, so they never have to admit like, oh my gosh, I do this too, but it registers with them because they're talking about this other character, and at the end you can bring it back to them.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really great, great teaching. And while you're at it, you're teaching the OODA loop, which you can use for other things also as you go through the class. So yeah, very very smart use of a read aloud, um, or book that the class is reading anyhow, and then relating it to social emotional learning and behavior and the OODA loop.
I thought I would add the read aloud in there just because not everybody has the book, so they could click
Hmm.
on it and have access to it.
Yeah, very good. Tammy, you could probably use this with your class too, right?
Absolutely. In fact, that's what I was thinking all the way through it. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That really, really fabulous. Um, okay, Karen Gallagher. Gal- Gallagher, sorry.
Okay. Mine is not real techy. Mine is a lesson plan, and it's kind of just introducing like fourth and fifth graders. Actually, I'm a retired teacher and I taught middle school special education. And so they kind of would have fallen into this.
Hmm.
So Basically, I'd start by,
You want me to show it?
and then, yeah, can
Or
you do that?
sure.
Or I might be able to, but I might not be
I
able
have it up.
to. It's, um, so, yeah, my objectives for this would be to give them examples of a simple problem, to start out with, and then to be able to describe a complicated problem, including that there might be several good ways to solve them and that they would need an expert or information from experts. So I would start out by kind of talking about how we're going to talk about something that most everyone has at one time or another, just kind of get them thinking and see if they can figure out what it might be. It's not something you know, you can hold or whatever, but it's something that we all have at some time. And usually we think of it kind of negatively. And I'm not sure if anybody would be able to come up with it. But anyway, after several guesses, if they didn't get it, I would tell them that the answer is a problem. We all have problems. And then I would give the example of, what do I do if I have a problem that I'm thirsty? Just something really simple and, get a drink. And then, think about, well, I could also walk down to the stream, a stream of water and get a drink. Would that be a good way to, solve my problem? Well, maybe not the best way. So just to kind of make the point that simple problems basically have one best way. And then I would introduce a complicated problem. And so let's see where I am here. So I would put them, I would get ready to put them into groups. So I think I could do it after this. I would tell them that this is a kind of problem that can be solved in different ways, but it's not as easy to solve as a simple problem. And then I would tell them to imagine that they and a few friends heard about a race in their town that has a half marathon that allows 4.5 hours to finish the race. And so then I would explain a half marathon is 13.1 miles, and that you and your friends decided to challenge yourself to do a half marathon that you can do together. And so I would explain that the problem we're going to think about is this. You'll have 3 months. What do you think is the best way to train for this so that the group will be able to go that many miles at the race? And so I would have the students get into groups of 3 as much as possible, I think would be a good one, or possibly 4. I would give them some roles like we typically do. My roles were facilitator to guide the discussion, note taker to record their ideas, and a harmonizer to make sure that everyone's ideas are able to be presented and come up with the consensus. And after they work on that, I'll just kind of check the groups and how they're finishing. We come back together as a group and allow each group to present their plans. And then I would ask them to see if they have any problems that might arise with each plan. I would anticipate that they might plan to do several long amounts of miles on several days, and point out that might be really hard to do, and it also might be hard to come up with that much time to get it done. And if they add miles too fast, they might find that it's hard to finish them. So then once all the groups are done, Then you can scroll down to the next one. I'll explain how this is an example that was made by experts to train for a half marathon. And one reason I chose this is because after I retired, I decided to do a half marathon with my friend who had done it before. And I really had no idea how to go about it. And I was starting to think, I don't even know how we're going to do this. Like, how do I get from, a couple miles to 13 miles? So anyway, you can see that actually, if you can scroll up where, weeks. Okay, so basically how the week would work is on Sunday you go about 4 miles. On Monday you cross train, or you can do 3 miles, and you can see cross train. You could do Pilates, bicycle, yoga, weight training, etc. On Tuesdays, you would go 3 to 4 miles. Wednesday, 3 miles, but include hills. Thursday, you take a rest. And Friday, is another cross-train day where you can do something else. And then it explains further, if you scroll down a bit more, you can see what you do on Saturday. So Saturday would be your big day. And obviously you can switch it if you need to. My cousin and I that did it together, we sometimes we do it on Friday or Sunday. So week 1, you go 5 miles. Week 2, you go 6. And then you just keep alternating between 5 miles and then bump it up again. And 5 miles again, bump it up again. And you can see that as you get to week 5, week 6, you're going 8 miles. And week 7, you're back at 5. And then week 9, you're going, week 8, you're going 10 miles. So you kind of jumped up from 8 to 10 because you're already, 8 miles is, already pretty long. So what's a few more? Then after that, 5 to 6 miles. And this is the one that really surprised me, is at the end, they actually have you doing less because you don't want to overexert yourself before the race. So you're going to go back to 8 miles in week 10, and week 11 you would actually go down to 4 miles. And the surprising thing is week 12 you rest on Saturday. So anyhow, then I would talk with the kids about what were some differences they saw in what the experts did compared to what they did. And so then I would also just have them make sure that they know how to explain to somebody what a complicated problem is, and making the point that having experts help or opinion is really going to help. So, and just for fun, I brought my medals that I got at this is one
Congratulations.
that was in Anacortes. They have some pretty good swag there. I got a hat, but both of my hats, I don't know what happened to them. And can't remember what this one was from, but this was another one. And then this was the first one I went on. And this was, it was the hop. It was around Easter time. So, incidentally, I also learned I did 4 marathons, half marathons. And something I learned, I kind of learned it on my own when I first started out. Um, I did 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, and man, I had a really hard time with that the first couple times. And then after that, I finally figured out don't look at it that way, change your mindset. So I started thinking about, okay, I can do 3 or 4 miles. So I would just go every 4 miles. And I found that that was the best race I did.
Mm.
So anyway, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I think that you really do show kids, have kids work through a complicated problem. Um, and by having them compare their different solutions, at that point, you give them a feeling like there's no one best answer. There's many ways of going about it. And then by showing an expert, which is still only one answer, but showing an expert, they inherently start understanding the value of bringing in expertise or looking for more information when it's a complicated problem, not just coming up with it themselves. So um, there's so many aspects of trying to solve a complicated problem that you're bringing up here, um, that they get to experience, and then making sure that they can explain what the difference is between a simple and a complicated problem and how you go about solving it is I guess bringing in reflection into the whole process also. So yeah, really complete. Thank you. But
Thank you.
even with that, I'm not going to run a half marathon. Sorry. But I
It's
will
not
say,
something that I ever
yeah,
thought I would
yeah.
do, to be perfectly honest.
So I will say, so a few years back, I was in San Diego and I had rented a bicycle, and I was just bicycling around San Diego, and I see, a family bicycling in front of me, and I just start following them, and all of a sudden, there's police all around us with these gates, and they start motioning me to go through these gates, and I'm saying, no, 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 sir, you have to go through the gates. You have to go through the gates. I go through the gates, and they hang a medal around my around my neck and say, "Congratulations, you finished the 25-mile bikeathon around San Diego." And all I did was the last half mile because I just happened to be following some people. So that's my one medal that I have. So yeah, really great example. Thank you, Karen. And now Michelle Procius, the other Michelle.
I'm coming. I'm
Okay.
coming.
All right, there you are.
Um, Mitch, could you share my lessons? I need.
So you're echoing.
I know. I'm fixing it. Hang on.
Okay.
You could share my lessons today. I'm having trouble on my computer, so I'm on my iPhone.
Okay, right. Okay, and I guess you shut the computer so you're so do
Yep.
you so will you be able to show or do you want me to?
If you could, I could talk. If you could show,
Okay, let me see if I can find
I'm
this
I'm
and
close up to the top.
yep, I see it and let me
And
share.
I have not actually done this lesson yet. This is a plan. I plan to do this, but it was kind of neat because the OODA loop. I don't know if anyone noticed this. I saw this in the research. It was developed by a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot named John Boyd, and it just happened to be Veterans Day this week. So, and we had a pilot in our classroom, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try to do this next week, but it's been busy. This is what my plan is. But I thought it was so simple and quick, just to teach them the observe, orient, decide, and act. And so I put it together, and there's a little video, but there's so many, like, it's too bad I'm 50 years old and just learning this because I think what I learned is that we go through these decisions every single day, all day long, like a continuous loop. And I thought I would teach the kids the acronym, which they love to learn what letters mean, and oh, it stands for this, and oh, it stands for that. So, and in my lesson, there's everyday examples, and you can walk through the kids like crossing the street. You observe a car is coming fast down the road. Oh, is the car too close, or can I cross safely? You decide to wait for the car to pass. stop and wait at the sidewalk. That's what you do. They talked about joining a conversation. All the time the kids are interrupting us and we have to put our hand up, or we give them some type of verbal cue or a visual cue to wait patiently. That's part of an OODA loop. And then they gave a playing dodgeball example. The ball's thrown at you. It's coming at my head. I need to move or catch it. What do I do? Duck or catch? Duck quickly. Like, you're not thinking, oh, it's an OODA loop. I'm in an OODA loop right now. So they created some scenario role plays. When I looked up I Googled, like, oh, tell me some scenario plays I could do with kids. They talked about so many different things. Arguing over a game, someone drops their lunch money, the bathroom's flooding, which way do I go? Um, so I guess you could use any example, like this happened today. The kids always come and tell us, oh, the bathroom's flooding, there's toilet paper all over the place. Well, what would you do? Would you go to a different bathroom? And then you move on to the next problem. And then they suggested that we could play a simple game like Simon Says. Even something simple as that, you're deciding so quickly what to do with your body, and then you move on. And it was just fascinating to me how this goes on all day long. And you start making decisions during your day, and I'm like, wait, I'm in a noodle loop. um, and then at the warm up and reflection, you review the OODA loop steps. You remind students that they use it all the time, thinking that it helps them make them faster, better decisions. Even on the playground, all the fighting that goes on, or who do I want to play with? What should I do? So once you get to my video, down at the bottom, you could show the kids the visual I have at the very bottom, but there's a video link, and there's usually like an ad, and like if you play it, when I played it, there was a Grammarly link.
Ever been on the brink of a crucial moment? Maybe
So
signing a high stakes contract, nailing a business
Mitch,
pitch,
pause that for
or
1 second. Before I go through it, it's very long, and you would have to skip and decide what you wanted your kids to do. But when my co-teacher and we did a directed drawing just for a fun little activity on Halloween to keep them active and engaged. They love to draw. So when I saw this OODA loop video, and it was like the character was drawing all the things, I thought maybe we could connect that to our kids and be like, oh, we did that. So the video that I attached might not be for my grade level, but I thought it could be for other people's grade level. I would adapt it, or I'm a special ed teacher. I don't know when Mitch shows the video, and you don't have to show the whole thing, but if you show the video to the people and they decide what pieces they want, I think my co-teacher and I would stop, pause it, or we might even fast forward it. But it's kind of cool how the person is drawing and it keeps the kids' attention. I also think on the video, just as a disclaimer, the accent is kind of distracting. So even if Mitch just shows a few minutes of it or fast forward through it, it's kind of neat. You're on mute, Mitch. You're on mute. Oh.
taking on a personal challenge, where everything depends on a single choice. That's exactly where I found myself not too long ago. I was about to launch a new project that could change the trajectory of my career. My nerves were through the roof, but I knew I needed a reliable method to guide me.
So yeah, I don't think I'm going to show the whole thing, but
No.
yeah, I think it's clear. That's an interesting video. I have not seen that one, so I'm going to take a look at that. I love watching new videos.
I think you need to take into consideration, like we have some pretty high kids that could comprehend that, but um, I think you would have to adjust it to how you want it.
Hmm. Yeah, in general, I think well, we all like watching videos, but kids, that's how they learn now, right? So
Mhm.
much. And so putting a video in, even if you don't show the whole thing, um, a lot of kids you could stretch. I loved I mean, Tammy probably won't like this, but I love the fact that you included a game.
Yeah. The Simon Says.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Tammy doesn't want kids to have fun, but
Right. Well, they
right.
also
You know my ears perk up when people start talking about games and education.
well, they also said you could use red light, green light.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And kids love red light, green light. They play it
Hmm.
on the at recess every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So just something that maybe we'll put in before Thanksgiving break because when we did the directed drawing on Halloween, they loved it, and it's just cool how to see people how they draw. So whatever. I'm not too techie. I'm just having fun here with you guys.
Well, that's what we all should be doing with life, right? Is making sure is having a good life, having fun.
That's right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I loved your examples, loved the game, really like the fact that you put video in and you gave the kids a chance for reflection also.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
thanks. Um, okay, Tishima Jackson, are you, I think you're next.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, let me just share my screen. All right. So I've created a lesson plan as well, similar to Michelle as far as like the reflection piece and like drawing, having the kids to draw. So this lesson is geared towards grade 6 and 7 special ed teacher. However, if you are a general ed teacher, you can also use this and tailor this to your setting. Subject is reading. The reading strategy focus was comprehension using the OODA loop. The learning objectives, students will be able to explain what each step of the OODA loop means. And sorry, let me just put this down. And apply the OODA loop to help them understand and respond to a reading passage. Materials will be like you can use like a short reading passage, 1 or 2 pages, the OODA loop anchor chart or poster. And with the anchor chart, you can also print it out and you could do like mini anchor charts where you're able to like staple it in the students' notebooks. You can also use individual OODA loop graphic organizer / worksheet, highlighters, and pencils as well. The vocabulary will be observe, orient, decide, act. You would tell them when they observe, look carefully at the text, notice key details. When they orient, to think about what's happening and how it connects to what they know. Decide, choose a strategy, a reading strategy, or they can make a prediction about what's going to happen next. And then act, where they can read more, answer questions, or adjust their thinking. For the connection to get the students involved and engaged into the lesson, you want to hook them. So I said you can do like a short video clip and you can ask like what did the character have to do to figure out what would happen next or what they would do next. And then you can guide students to realize that they had to observe, think, decide, and act. And then explain to students that they can use the same kind of thinking when they are reading, and it's called the OODA loop. And also, what the OODA loop does is it helps them to understand what is going on in the story. And then you can introduce the OODA chart and define each step for the students. For the mini lesson, you can just display a short passage on the board, model the OODA loop steps, observe, and then you can use sentence starters such as I see words like, or remember in the orient step, you can say I know, or the decide step, I'll predict the main character will, and then the act step. Now I'll read the next passage to check my prediction. So all of this you're modeling for the students. And then as you are doing that, you want to write down your thoughts on either like the smart board or a chart paper, or graphic organizer while you are modeling for them. For the guided practice, you want to give students a short paragraph or page to do. They can work through the OODA steps. We can work through the OODA steps together. You want to pause after each step so that they can have discussions so that, quick turn and talk and ask questions such as like, what do you notice? What do you think that means? What should we do next? And then for the independent activity, you can do an independent activity, or you can actually group the students and have like a buddy system in place, whatever you decide based off of your students. And then students can read like a short passage independently or in pairs. They can complete the OODA loop worksheet. They can write or draw, like Michelle said, something for each step. They can use highlighters to mark text evidence for the observe step. And then like for the quick wrap up, which is the reflection piece, you want to reserve the OODA steps together. You want to ask questions like how did using the OODA loop help you understand the story better? Which step was easiest or hardest for you? Reinforce the reading. You want to also, as a teacher, reinforce that reading is about thinking actively, not just saying the words. So that whole concept of metacognition. And then this is an anchor chart that I created. And this OODA, you can just let kids know that the OODA loop helps us to slow down our reading for us to think about it and understand what we are reading. And then on the right side of the anchor chart, you can just put the steps. And then on the left side, you can actually put like some sentence starters and what each step entails. Like, what do you see? What does it mean? What should I do next as a reader? And this is the anchor chart I said that you can actually print out, and you can have many anchor charts that you can put into their notebooks and also displayed in the classroom. And then for the graphic organizer slash worksheet, I've created this where you have observed, and they can use this as they are reading. What do you notice in the text? What stands out? And then you want to give them some thought prompts or some sentence starters to support their thinking, that whole part of scaffolding. Then you have to orient, decide, and I included some visuals as well in ACT. Thank you.
Oh no, thank you. This is like really, really well organized. And having those graphics, those pages about the anchor chart and the graphics organizer, um, those are incredibly helpful. And the way you're scaffolding the student skills in reading while also bringing them through OODA loops, which they can use then in other aspects of their life. Really, really good. And there's some comments on this on the chat also because really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love the displaying of the student work or the student. I just love fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really well done.
Okay, I think hopefully I'm taking people in order. I have um Samantha Dearsley.
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
All right, I'm gonna try to share. Last time I shared it wouldn't work, so let's see. It's telling me to quit and reopen. Do you mind
I
sharing?
can
I
share.
just need the Canva presentation and then I can read off
Okay.
of my
All right. So of course I opened the wrong one, right? Um
sorry.
no, no, why I'm the one who opened the wrong one, but okay. I have it here and let me share that screen. Happy Thanksgiving.
Right. So I made mine connect with Turkey Trouble and the OODA loop. It's for the students to learn how to think and make smart choices by using the OODA process as they explore how Turkey in the story Turkey Trouble solves his big problem. Um, you can go to the next slide. So this is just an overview of how the students can identify what OODA is and the different process, like the steps to it for them to observe, orient, decide, and act. You can go to the next one. So, so Turkey has a dilemma and he realizes that he's in trouble, big trouble. You can go to the next one. And this is how Turkey uses the OODA loop. First, Turkey observes that Thanksgiving is near. Then he learns that turkeys might face some danger. So he decides that Turkey needs to wear a funny costume. And he acts by disguising as different animals around the farm. You can go to the next one.
These
So now
pictures are cute as can be.
Thanks. That was Chat GTP AI.
Love it. Good for you.
So Turkey. Oh, so this is now for the students to use OODA loop. What would you do if you were in Turkey's situation? If you were to see something that could endanger yourself or your friends, then how would you think about your choices? And then what would you decide? And then how would you act? And you can go to the next one. So let's reflect. Let's think about the problem. What was Turkey's big problem? Obviously, Turkey was going to be Thanksgiving dinner. How did he solve it? He decided to dress up like all of the different animals on the farm until he realized his last animal was rooster, and he thought, oh no, rooster looks a lot like turkey. The farmer is going to have a rooster for dinner instead of the turkey. And then he finally realized the perfect Thanksgiving dinner is a pizza. And he thought carefully and he planned it out, and he finally found the best solution by following the OODA loops. And then the last one is just like how to solve problems together. And then trying your best. And I shared just like a simple lesson plan that kind of just followed it along, but also including the story more. I mean, this is just like a visual for the kids. But I thought Turkey's always in trouble. The OODA loop is the same, trying to figure out how to work through a problem. And it related to this time of year, and made the kids think a little bit more. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments and like it's so much fun. It's so timely. The graphics are so great. I meant the kids are gonna love this.
Yeah. The Canva has really upped their AI, and you can like put in a bunch of different prompts, and then like it'll question you things, and you put in more prompts, and the more information you give them,
Hmm.
the more detailed things you got. So it was very helpful.
Well, Canva may have been a good tool, but you pulled it together, and this was great.
Thank
Well
you.
organized. It uses storytelling. The kids could really get into it. It's just all these elements that get kids engaged, motivated, and loving what they're learning, which means that what they're learning actually goes into long-term memory. So, um,
And what kid is not going to relate to those turkey pictures?
Yeah. And
I
the
mean,
kids love the story Turkey Trouble.
Well, adults too, but oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah, great. Thank you. I think we all can use this for, up probably even through high school, just as a fun thing. Okay, and then the person I have next is Anne Fleming.
Okay. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Is it not showing?
It's not showing right now.
Is it showing now?
No.
I'm not doing it right then. Oh, okay. Well, would you mind showing it?
Sure, I can. You had two. I think you had two links, but this was the link to the slide. So that's
That
right.
one, that's great. And then if you can just like go into the play version of it, just like
The, oh,
to play the slides.
the YouTube.
No,
Oh, sorry. Just
And
do
this
the
book is amazing.
I know, isn't it a great book?
And yes.
So up on
Okay.
the
You click on the one, the top.
Slideshow.
Yeah.
There. Okay.
Okay, but you're going to want to go back one to the first one.
Right
Please,
there.
thank you. Um, that's the second slide, but
Oop.
okay, there it is. Oh, thank you so much. So this is as techie as you're gonna get, because I'm still old school and even new to AI because I loved all the graphics and imaging, and I tried figuring those out to try and have some really cool images and graphs and like the really neat organizers with the OODA loop. I did not figure it out. So I just struggled and so I was like, okay, we're gonna do this old school. So I apologize if it's not as engaging as I would like it. But with that said, I'm really into picture books and incorporating multiple academia in science. My background's in science. And so this is using the OODA framework, grades 3-5 in the classroom setting using science and inquiry-based learning. And so the front slide, if you guys opened it, you could click on any of the thing that says the most magnificent thing, the most magnificent thing, and it'll take you to the book on a YouTube video if you don't have the book. So whenever you see that through the slides, it's linked, hyperlinked. So I did figure that out. So next, please. Okay, so learning objectives. Students will understand the OODA framework, observe, orient, decide, and act as a problem-solving process. Identify how the main character and the most magnificent thing uses each step of OODA. They'll apply the OODA loop, the looping process, the thought process behind OODA to their own creative design or a STEM challenge. And then after that, we'll connect it to students using the OODA process to make a simple personal goal or classroom goal. And next slide, please. So materials needed, The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires. You can use chart paper or whiteboards with the students. An OODA loop poster, which this is where I want to put the plug in for Kara's. Kara, I love that poster you made for PE, and I literally spent, I can't tell you, like probably 2 hours trying to put together something AI really cool looking with what you had. And I'm like, okay, I give up. And I'm not going to take the time to draw out a poster the old school with the crayons and all that and really cool. So I would suggest linking Kara's poster that she used in PE to this to have that poster. Students journals. And so if you are familiar with science, like the scientific method, a lot of the times when I was teaching those science concepts, the students would have journals that would be an ongoing open inquiry observation journal. And then they'd be like, if I were to do this experiment again, this is what I'd want to do differently. And so that would work in this example. Or the STEM graphic organizers where you're posing a problem, coming up with a hypothesis, an if-then statement, and then analyzing your results, like the scientific method. You're going to need building materials for a mini maker challenge. So anything you have on hand, like you could throw anything out that students could use. Legos, cardboard, tape, recyclables, go out to the recyclable bin of the plastics, anything. String and toothpicks. Those are just some things I was thinking of, but next slide, please. Okay, so the lesson outline is first thing you're going to engage the students with the book. Discuss the book cover, make predictions. So just the title itself, The Most Magnificent Thing, and showing the book in the front of it. Explore is the next step, which is read the story and identify OODA steps. You'll then explain as you read the story and review how the main character's young girl, follows the OODA process. You then will extend the thoughts of the story to apply the OODA loop to a mini design challenge. So the science activity. And then you'll evaluate, so you'll reflect on the learning experience, you'll discuss challenges, and the characteristics of persistence and resiliency. And then you'll connect again, where you're now going to connect into real life problems, situations, and goal setting. And so next slide, please. So this was kind of like my science
brain thinking, and since it's more of a STEM activity. So I said, what is OODA? The OODA framework is a decision-making process that can be used in problem solving and innovation. My husband is an engineer, and so he was like, where's the engineer? I said, well, that's the innovation. So, and then you explain what the student's going to do. You're going to observe, look and notice what's happening in a situation. You're going to orient, think about what you already know and what you can use or change. Is there another way? You'll decide, you'll choose a plan of action, you'll act, you'll try it out, and you'll adjust as needed. And then I added loop down below, where you repeat the observe, the orient, decide, and act, and experiences build resiliency, and resiliency leads to discovery and innovation.
I love that phrase.
Thank you. And then the next slide. So this is the premise of the book. So you're gonna, how this connects to the OODA framework. As you read, you'll observe that the girl wants to make something magnificent. And then the orient is she brainstorms, she sketches ideas, makes plans, evaluates what could work, and gathers materials. And then she decides to choose one of the ideas, and then she'll alter. And then in the book itself, you would see her leaving these these apparatuses that she built along the road, and then she'd come back and see that, oh, well, this had this feature, and oh, I could use that feature. But she also gets frustrated with the process and emotional with it, and that's where the act is. She builds, makes mistakes, gets frustrated, wants to give up, but then she keeps trying because she observes what she had done in the prior construction process of what she was trying to build, the good things along with the bad things. And then at the end of the story, you see that it all works out because she tried. So the class activity idea. So you read through the story, you make those connections talking about that, and then you move into what the activity is. You're going to build your own magnificent thing using classroom materials. So it's open-ended. And so kids might have a problem with this, with true inquiry, where you're literally just putting all the materials out in the center of the room, and you say, you're to design and build a pencil holder that keeps it from rolling off your desk. And it's completely open-ended. So it's kind of like that learning through play experience and trial and error and design. And so this is where the graphic organizer would go in to play, or you could leave it completely open-ended where your younger one's going to need more structure, but your older kids, you'd give them the whiteboard and be like, okay, design something, try it out, build it, see if it works. But it's really open-ended. So you really don't even want to guide them as that much because you want it to be authentic in their inquiry. So next slide, please. Now, these are some reflection questions after they build their design or after they build it. And it says, what was your magnificent things design? Which step of the OODA loop was hardest? How did looping try again help you improve? What did you learn from your mistakes? How does this process connect to real life problem solving? How does the process connect to setting goals to overcome a problem? And next slide. You then connect to be the one to set the example. So this is where you make the class, you have them brainstorm. So they've shared their designs, they're excited about it, they value it, and can use it in class. And now you connect that to how can we use this in our school and how can we use it in our classroom? So you'll apply the OODA framework to real life problems, situations, goal setting, brainstorm classroom problems that the students would like to solve using OODA with an invitation to make an agreed upon class goal, such as everyone lining up for lunch quickly and quietly, or whatever the kids come up with in your class. You then can also invite students to practice the OODA problem solving at recess. So brainstorm and list on the board frequent problems at recess. Pick one problem to discuss with a partner, make an OODA plan to solve the problem and share it with the class. So this is where your graphic organizers come in, they could use. And application to like spread the good OODA loop and problem solving out in recess in the classroom. So this is a lesson just briefly, or I did use with the book for goal setting, and you guys can read through that. But that's another extension that kind of leads to when the kids come up with something that they value, that they want to resolve, they can make goals to set those. And so I think that is my last slide.
I think so.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Wow. I just first of all, it's a fun story, right? And so you get kids to apply it, apply the process to the story, then you have them apply it to a real activity, so they're using multiple senses, and then you use knowledge transfer because now that they've done it with a particular activity, they're transferring their ability to iterate to other things that they're involved in the school and their lives. So it's got all these elements together and really, really well done.
Yeah. And the whole point, tell your husband, is that we're all engineers in
Right?
our own way.
That's true. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the engineering part of it is in the Orient. Also, it's because what engineers are doing is they're analyzing and synthesizing. So,
Well,
yeah.
and I think that's the whole point of the book, like, is that we all have this capability. It's lovely.
Um, okay, so Cassandra, do you still want to go?
I do not need to go. Someone else can
Right.
do. I
You
have
don't
a
need to,
total
but
math brain and my is just a math. So no, I'll let someone else go.
okay. I'm sure yours is great, but you don't have to. So then I'll move on to Kristen Elliott. Are you
I'll go.
okay?
Okay, I don't think it's gonna let me share. Sorry.
Okay. Let me. I have it,
Okay.
and so I'll go to share here. And I'm sorry that I wasn't clear about whether you had to share or not, but it's really fun and it's great seeing these lessons. So I'm loving this.
So I don't know, I really struggled with trying to apply this to myself, teaching it to adults like my teammates versus like my students. I teach third grade and I really wanted practical and I wanted to do it with a student who I've just struggled with. So I kind of explained in the next slide just a little bit about the student, but he just has high anxiety and is really, whenever I kind of correct him, he just kind of over apologizes. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm not able to kind of process with him. And so I was trying to think like, how can I help him process and kind of give us a language that we could use? And so I thought I would sort of teach him the UDA. But if you keep going, my one change is instead of having the 4 stages, I changed the middle stage, kind of orient and decide into a think. So just one stage. So if you keep going, kind of this is what I would do with him is that would kind of be our thing. I'm thinking I would like put it on a card on his desk. And so I could like point like, okay, let's kind of go through the steps, but keep going. So the first one is observe. And again, I was trying to think really specific for the student. So like kind of what's going on around you? What are the classmates doing? What's the teacher doing? What's the teacher asked you to do? Or what's the teacher saying you should do? So be aware of your surroundings, observe. And then next is that think step, which is for the UDA, the orient, and then decide. So, you know, a very common situation with this boy is he's continuing to read, like we're doing some kind of transition and he's reading his book. So it's like, okay, you've observed everyone else is putting their stuff away. You know, what do you think you can do? What's an action you could take and what would be the result? So trying to get him to think through, because it seems like when he's called out, then there's a lot of explosion of emotion. So I said like, oh, you could, keep reading your book. And, then Miss Elliott might use the frustrated voice because she's asked you several times to, put this thing away. So you can keep going on the next slide. And then it was a think through, what are some other choices you could make? And so kind of trying to connect thinking about your choices, thinking about the consequences, what's going to happen, what that's going to lead to. And then the next step is, act it out. So choose one of your choices, and then kind of see how that goes and be ready, be open to feedback. And how did that go? And so I said, like, if that worked well for you, awesome. If not, think about your choices
and the outcomes and the consequences. And so I just had a couple more slides with like quotes and stuff, but I think this seemed like to connect
I
a
love
lot to
that slide. I love that quote.
yeah, Love and Logic, which in Love and Logic, they're like, you're free to choose, but you're not free from the consequences of your choice. And so I kind of looked up that quote, and this is who it said it's attributed to. So, and then just trying to get him to see that feedback is not a bad thing, right? Like as a teacher, you're going to you're going to get correction, and don't be afraid of it. And you can learn from mistakes and, go through this process of looping again. So, that's pretty much it. And then I thought, some other scenarios. I've really always wanted to do a choose your own adventure writing. And I thought that would be a fun way that you could kind of try to get them to see like, okay, the character can do this, or the character can do this, and then kind of make that connection in writing. Like when they choose to do that, then here's the outcome, right? And you get to play around almost with someone else's life of making the choices. And, just something I thought from the gal who just presented before with the most magnificent, like anytime you're connecting to literature and what is this character doing? What choices did they make? Through any read aloud book you do, I just feel like it can be really powerful because the students kind of get to participate in that person's life and the choice they make and see the consequence. And there's no personal consequence for them. And so it's a way for them to kind of try it. So anyway, that's me. Done.
I love how specific it is.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, I have to do this. No, he's been on my mind.
It's amazing. Like I'm just thinking, that is step by step. Okay, you're not putting your book. I mean, I'm just thinking about every kid I've ever worked with.
I wanted it simple. I really appreciate everyone who really explained the different steps. And I was like, maybe I should have done more of that and really tried to get into the questioning, but I wanted something that simple and that we could apply to a lot of different scenarios. And I think
almost any scenario.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that you've modified it to the observe, think, act. I think that was ingenious. And I suspect that if you could condition that boy with high anxiety to really be thinking, I'm going to do things so that I can observe. And then you could be the co-regulator with that because he does something and then gets upset when it doesn't work. But so you remember OTA, what are you observing now? And so you start getting him used to thinking of I'm going to do something, and then that just gives me information. I think you're going to give him a gift because he's going to, by the end of the year, he's going to naturally look for what information he could get rather than immediately judge, and it's going to reduce that anxiety. That's what I think is going to happen. I think this is great. So yeah, thank you. Good. And then Elena, Howard, do you want to?
I think we skipped over Cassandra Kepton.
Oh, well, she said no.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, then we're good. I'll try to share my screen here.
Okay.
Let's see that. Thank you for keeping track of that, by the way. We appreciate it.
All right. Why isn't it there? Let's go there. And I'm trying to share. Okay, let's see if we can share this first.
And if you can't, there it goes.
All right. So that's that. This is thanks to Chat GPT. Said, give me a poster for the OODA loop. It's not as cool as the other ones we've seen, but it'll work for you if you have to. I like the little arrow because you keep having to go around and around. And my lesson plan, and I'm not quite sure how I can get my other part, but let me stop sharing for a second and see if I can share again. So so that's just one of the things. And why isn't it there? I don't understand. Documents. Advanced. I'm just trying to share my fine. Try this one. No, wrong one. Dang it. All right, that worked. Out of that. Here, do this one. All right.
Ta-da!
Hmm,
Fabulous.
good.
So mine's just
But you're not
a
sharing that, or it's just sharing the screen
oh,
of the folder.
oh crap. Uh, I don't know what to do. All right, could
Okay,
you pop it
so
up?
yeah, I think I can probably.
Great. I'm
It's
gonna
the
stop.
lesson plan. It's in
Yeah,
Dropbox, right?
right, yes.
Okay, so here we
I'm
go.
almost out of here. All right. Oof, try to make that as big as you can.
Uh, well, that's probably too big.
Oh, that's good. That's
Okay,
good.
how's
Oh,
this?
oop. No, the other one
That's
was
too
better.
small?
Yeah, the other one was better. I have bad eyes. So anyway, this is for a folks who are you're an elementary level, which is kind of cool. And so we're gonna our learning objectives to describe it, to apply it, and then just a little bit for the teacher. So you could use this as a sub plan if you really need to, or as I would use the turkey one as opposed to this one because you guys have way more cool ones than ours. And basically, as we keep scrolling down, right? We're going to do a what would you do, right? Exercise for a little bit. And then we'll teach the OODA loop, to draw a big circle on the board and label each step and, discuss it all. Then we're going to practice, right? We're going to give them each a scenario and there's scenario cards attached to the bottom. And then we're going to, write, or there's another worksheet on the bottom that's attached that talks about what time they made a decision where they used, and having to go through and see if they actually naturally were using the OODA steps. Oh, that didn't work. I'm going to try something different. And then, the little closure is, discussing why thinking before acting is important. And, so maybe have a class, make a class chant about the OODA loop. And so there's a worksheet with the story. What did you want to do? What happened after you acted? And then the scenario cards are on the bottom of that. So it's a pretty quick one. And then you can print the poster as well, which is kind of neat. So down and dirty, pretty quick. You can cut it up if you need to. The big thing for me was to get something into their system is that especially think of all the what ifs, if I do this, what's going to happen, so that hopefully we can. I mean, I always told my kid, think about what you're about to do and then don't do it because it's probably dumb. So to get them to that level where they're like, oh, if I thinking it through, no consequence, that's going to be bad. Maybe before I even act, I'm going to try something different, so that the consequences of your actions might not be as bad. Because I think people kind of naturally have a plan A and a plan B, but sometimes when we're young, we come to that first thing and then we just do it and we don't think it through, and getting them to kind of like think and slow down and get through it before they and
Hmm.
knowing, all right, well, remember that and try it better next time. And at 5:57, that was me. Thank you.
Okay. So I love the idea of the scenario cards because different people get to work on different aspects of the problem. You bring about some randomness into it. Um, you could put the cards into it like a hat and have them draw them so that they get involved in that. Um, and then
Yep.
making them go through the steps and just, and say, well, things like, well, what can go wrong? Yeah, you might even throw, as you as the teacher say, well, this is now imagine, and you could throw an event in after they've come up and say, now, how does that, what do you do next, and have them go through the loops again. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is really good. Very, and as Karen says, very practical for students.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the time, and it's you know, uh, 2 minutes left. So Tammy, um, what do you? I hate to keep people longer because
Yeah.
it's long, right? So, I think I'm just gonna, for all of you who got a chance to present, thank you. I think everybody got a lot out of these lessons, and I think people are going to be able to use these lessons. I'm going to cut up the videos so that they're next to the lessons, so that you can use them, and then I'll share them with people also, so that other people can use them. Um, these were fantastic, and thank you all for attending this class. If there's stuff that you haven't done yet in the class, we're going to leave the class open for another week to give you a chance to finish. For those, if you didn't get a lesson plan in, or if you missed a reflection, or you didn't see something, one of the sessions, just let us know. And thank you for coming.
You
So
guys are awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you really
So
are.
in a week, when the class closes, that's when Washington State, we submit clock hours and they will process them.
Right, and it just usually takes a couple weeks for them to process them. So if you're in Washington, you should get a notice or in New York for that matter, you should get a notice in about 3 weeks. Okay, from the two
Okay.
states. Okay, so Tammy and I will stay on if people have questions for us. But in the meantime, thanks again. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Um,
Oh, happy
yeah,
holidays.
yeah, happy holidays.
Amen. And we hope
Alyssa.
to see you in a future session.
So, I don't. Let me see if I can open the document.
What you trying to open, Mitch?
Alyssa's document, because it wasn't opening for me before, but it looks like it's opening. Yes, I was able to open it. So
Okay,
thank
well,
you.
Mitch, I want to go eat dinner.
Okay, I'll stay on. I already ate dinner, so there. But I'm on the East Coast, so it's a different time.
Well, that is true.
Okay. Yeah.
Matt,
So yes, Brenda.
I have a question. Will you be letting us know if we're missing anything? I've tried to make sure, but there were a couple things that were listed that you thought I was missing that I didn't. I wasn't. I didn't think I was.
Okay.
I just want to follow.
Okay. So so have you seen session 4 yet? Or session 5. I'm sorry, session 5. There was one that we didn't have you marked as seeing, but session 5 was last Tuesday.
Well, I thought I have, but
Well,
I've clicked through so many different links and things that take you to things that I.
no, you could have. You just may not have let us know.
Oh,
So,
no.
so I'm going to mark you as having seen that.
I mean,
Actually,
I'm gonna guess because I did